thing where we have to manually share it. So if people are going to be popping in, actually, you know what? Before we really get going, let me see if I can share it. Log into your X account, open your profile, and click on your profile photo. So if anyone's joining, we're just getting started here. It's the pre-show.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me see. We're showing up on there. Click on profile picture. Click the share button. Is anybody watching us yet, Jack?
It says live on X. I'm watching us.
Oh, you can see it. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't see a share button anywhere on here. Oh, there it is.
Sorry.
Post share via.
If I go to your thing.
Post this. Here we go.
We definitely had issues last week.
All right. Got it. Tweeted. Whatever it's called. X'd. We got a couple viewers. What's up, Flyers Purgatory? Yeah, this is the pre-show. We got another minute or two here. We're trying to work out a Twitter kink. Didn't share it last time. We got a message that Twitter's having issues with StreamYard. Pay $50 a month for the service. You'd think they maybe try to figure that out between the time we did the show last time and now, but they didn't figure it out, Jack. So sometimes you got to make your own way. So we're waiting for some people to pile in before we kick off this topic-packed episode, the second week of No Flyers hockey because of the Olympics. And I want to know did you guys need a break from the Flyers, do you think? Jack, do you think you needed a break? Do you enjoy watching the Olympics? We didn't really get into the Olympics too much last week. We talked rosters. I just found out for myself. I think the Olympics were a lot cooler when I was a kid or like growing up. And maybe because they took the NHL players out of the Olympics for a little bit there, I just lost interest. And I know that it's not that way for everyone, but like I haven't really been on Twitter. Like the Flyers are off. So I have no reason to really be on Twitter. And there's no hockey to really talk about unless you're following the Olympics. And Canada and United States each won today, both in overtime, both advance, still have the possibility of playing each other, I believe, in the finals. So that's fun. But I just noticed for myself, I just care. I just don't care as much. Like, for whatever reason, last year during the Four Nations, I don't know why, I just cared a lot more. I don't know. It's not because they could, maybe because it was here, wasn't it? It was in the States.
Well, yeah, and I think it's the times. Like I'm interested, I'm into it.
Yeah.
But I was like, all the games I wanted to watch were at like noon and 3:00, and I'm at work at those times, and I don't have access to a TV. I'm following along through like Twitter and my phone, like just updates and whatnot. And then you got like Elliot Friedman and people and Frank Saravelli. They're like tweeting results, and like most people haven't seen it yet. Like they're like, it's almost like when the ESPN used to tip picks for the NFL draft. It's like, stop doing that. We're trying to watch it. Or even better, the drafts for the new teams. Remember, they were like, they were telling everybody on Twitter, it's like, why are we even watching a show? We just follow this. I don't understand what I guess views, but I don't know. It made me angry. It's like, like the expansion draft. Oh, I couldn't think of the word expansion. So that was irritating. But like as far as the games themselves, today was wild. Today was wild. So yeah, no. When I was off Saturday and I was able to watch who would they play. The USA beat somebody, but they were down 2-1 in the first. I can't remember who it was. Nobody important really, but it was kind of like down after the first period. Well, the smack you talked. So I mean, really, it's coming down to it needs to be USA and Canada. Anything can happen in a one and done scenario in the hockey, any sport, but really in hockey. But it really is, if it's not USA and Canada, it feels like the whole process is a fail. However, we are still, we're a game away from that from each side. And Canada really came close. I mean, they were losing that game until late. And then, of course, in overtime, 3-on-3, I don't think Czechia had much of a chance. But they really should have won that game in regulation. That's so close. But a part of me is like, if the USA doesn't beat Canada for gold, it's like I feel like it'll just be, gold is gold, but it'll just be diminished in some way. You already don't have Russia in the tournament, so I was like,
well, I was going to ask you that. Does that diminish anything?
Like at the end of the day, when you're counting medals, no. But for me personally, it does a little bit. You know what I mean?
It has to. I mean, they're one of the top, probably top 3 or 4 team in the world, and they're just not in it.
Right. And there's so many good players on that team. We won't see Ovechkin unless he's playing at like, Jesus, almost 40 the next time it comes around. So that's a shame. And I don't know. But I'm also the kind of person, like if there's ever a lockout in any sport, I almost don't want my team to win in that year. Like at the end of the day, I'm going to cheer for him. But it feels watered down. It just doesn't feel the same. It's just, I don't know. It's not how I envision my team finally winning in a lockout year or a bubble or whatever the hell. I'm not trying to take too much away. It's how I feel. It just isn't the same. But this is if USA defeats Canada in the gold medal matchup, then I'll forget about the Russian thing, no problem, because that is what it's all about. So both teams survive. It's obvious scares and makes you wonder, but maybe we'll give a little bit of credit to some of these other teams, just a little bit. So
I think that it's somewhat like I'm expecting that to be the final. So the games leading up to it, I don't care. Even though like the games today were eked out, the competition's better, whatever. I have no interest watching a team win 11-0. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's get to where we all know this is going to go, and then I'll watch, right? Because, you have your Swedens, your Finlands, the United States, Canada's. You have all the teams that have, star power, like Germany's got some stars, but they're going to go out in the first round of whatever it is. So, like, I guess for me, I'm like, let's just get to where we all know we're going to be. Let's just get to that game. And then I'll watch.
If they get there, otherwise, because if the U.S. Canada eked it out and won, and I was like, okay, it would have been really funny if they lost, but I guess we're still on par for our Stone Cold versus the Rock finals here. But then the United States finds itself in overtime. I'm like, I swear, if they lose, I'm not watching anything. Like, I'm done.
Right, exactly,
I'm out. Yeah. I'm out. And then say what you will about that, but it is what it is. So, but for me, like with the Four Nations, I met up with my buddies like 4 times to watch games because they were like regular prime time starts. But these 3 p.m. starts, like I'm lucky if I'm watching it by myself. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to make more of an effort. I watched a little bit today. The next hopefully 2 games, I will definitely be tuning in and trying. Obviously, the gold medal game, I'll make an exception. But like, everything leading up to it's very like, it's also like my dad's like, so who's playing who and what's the deal? Like that's the other thing. A lot of people don't understand the pool structure. They don't understand if you win this, where that places you. And I actually for a second I was like, wait, we down to 4-4 already? And I'd like do some research. Like, okay, we're quarterfinals still. Like I get it for like casual fan. It can be a little tough. Some people
that's how I feel. Like I just don't care. Like let's just get to the final 4. Let's get to the final 2. Whatever you got to do to get there, like, let me know when we're there, and I'll watch those games. Because the rest of them, I just don't care.
Yeah, well, Jim, now's the time to tune in. We're down to the final 4.
All right. So all right, let's get this show started here.
Friday, you'll have both matchups. Sorry, go ahead.
Friday's the day. All right, cool. All right, here we go. Ready?
Let's do it.
All right, you beauties. Welcome to HW Hockey's YouTube channel, episode, I think, 31. I didn't go back and look. I think it's 31. It's not. Don't hold it against me.
Fired the intern.
I'm your host, Jim Michkov, joined as always by the one and only Jack Smith. And if you are watching live on YouTube, thank you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're hoping to hit 3,000 YouTube subscribers, and you guys can help us get there by hitting that subscribe button. The like goal for the episode is going to be 100 likes. I don't think we've hit 100 likes during the live show yet. I know we can get there. We're averaging between 900 and 1,000 views per live show. Only 100 likes, so we need some more likes there, guys. So we're asking 2 favors of you. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe. Really appreciate it. And hit that like button. For all the podcast listeners out there, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcast or Spotify so you're first in line when newest episodes drop. And if you've been watching us for the last 8 years, you know that we drop a new one every single week. Never really take a week off. Jack, even during a week where the Flyers haven't played for the last 2 weeks, and we're kind of making up our own topics here because there's really not been a lot to talk about during this break, unless you want to, talk about Matvei Michkov. He's got a girlfriend, so we know that about him. That's great. Maybe she'll keep him in line, keep him out of Dubai this upcoming summer. Cool to see some, I guess, vacation pics. Sometimes you just need a reset. It's somebody put it. And tell me what you think about this, Jack. What do you think about grown men going on a player's Instagram, screenshotting and posting on Twitter?
A little weird.
It is a little bit, right?
A little weird. Yeah. A little weird.
I get we have to talk about this stuff, but that stuff irks me out a little bit. Like, all right, guys.
How old are we? I get
let
it.
Let the kids do it. Let the kids do that stuff.
Yeah. And I get that how important he is. I get it. I really do. I get it. Like you said, been doing this show for 8 years, been a fan obviously much longer than that. I get how important he is. Jesus Christ, let's take it easy. Yeah.
A lot of topics to get to tonight. We're going to talk about Sam Ersson. We're going to talk about, so I want to know, from obviously the chat, Jack, and from you as well, did we overreact because of early season success? So we'll get into that. We want to evaluate Rick Tocchet's first 50-some games, the unofficial first half of his first Flyers season as head coach. We'll kind of go back around and reevaluate, should we still move Owen Tippett? Do we still want to do that? Do we think Michkov has it in him to bounce back? Did the little break work for him? Did it help clear his mind, get him back in, kind of reset? At some point, I'd like to talk Drysdale a little bit. And look, Trevor Zegras had a really good first half, kind of slowed down towards the end there. What's the hold up with an extension? Who, if it's Zegras' camp that wants to wait to the summer, why do we think that is? Is there a chance that he doesn't come back, kind of thing? We'll just speculate and, wrap it up with some Vladar talk. And should we start to get a little bit more, I don't want to say harsh, but is the honeymoon phase over with Danny Brière? Because I know for myself, it takes me a little bit longer to get frustrated with some of these guys. I think more than most. Like, I gave Chuck Fletcher, for example, a lot of slack until he was in, I don't know how long he was here now. It seemed like forever. Let's say if he was here for 5 years, it took me till his 4th year to be like, all right, I'm out on this guy. I can't give him the benefit of the doubt anymore, kind of thing. So interested to hear what you think, what the chat thinks about Danny Brière. And is it time to start, getting a little tougher on him? So, all right, so let's kick it off, Jack, with the topic that's top of the list, and that's Sam Ersson. Now, you have here, should the Flyers let him walk at the end of this season, Jack? What do you think? Would you rather them let him walk? Do you think they just bring him back as a warm body? Where's your head at with that?
Well, I guess it depends on some of your depth at the AHL level, what they do, which I imagine nobody's going anywhere. But I have to imagine going into the offseason, they're obviously not going to be able to land a big fish on the free agent market because they're all gone. One aspect that they're going to have to improve going into next year is going to be the backup goalie position. And you have to ask yourself, what are our options there? I really don't know who's going to be available, what trade options there are, and even our own options inside the organization. I don't think anybody's ready yet. Ersson's that guy right now, and I think we've made excuses the last 2 years, and this year it's kind of like, yeah, he don't have it. I can't trust him. He'll throw you one every once in a while. That's not good enough. And while he's a great guy, either you can play at the NHL level or you can't. And if he can go figure it out elsewhere, good for him. It'll be a great story. But I think he's gotten every potential opportunity up here, and you just can't trust him. You cannot go into a season, legitimately tell your fan base, when goaltending has been one of your biggest issues forever, that we are trying to make the playoffs and he's your backup goalie. Like, for all we know, Vladar could take a step back next year. Like maybe all the games take its toll or something like that, because it's not like he has a phenomenal track record. So having more of a steady backup to Vladar is paramount to helping this team win some games, or at least get a point in games where they really haven't been with Ersson in net, where they're out of the game after the first period because he's given up bad goals and bad bounces and things. Just how long did we hear he's better than his numbers, even though his numbers were atrocious? And now it's like, no, the numbers are at a point where they just don't lie. He is who he is. Thank you for your service. We're going to have to improve here. We're no longer in a step one of the rebuilding phase. So for me, I doubt he has any value where you can really trade him for anything worthwhile. And you have to improve the position. I don't see a spot for him at the AHL level. I think you do. I think you move on.
Yeah, it certainly is what it seems like. I kind of wonder how married to him the organization is.
Just for real quick, just for reference, I guess, this was a Hextall draft pick. That's how far back he goes. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's kind of you know what you have in Sam Ersson. He's not going to be expensive to keep around, but he also can't help you win games. So they are going to have to make a decision. And look, at this point, quite frankly, any option out there is probably going to be better than Sam Ersson if they're an NHL goalie. And maybe even some AHL guys. Like taking Alex Lyon, for example. I mean, and Sam Ersson could even turn into this kind of guy. Like it seems to happen with all the Flyers. Kind of 50-50 so-so guys. Anthony Stolarz, Alex Lyon. I think there's one more guy out there that's names maybe escaping me, but these guys don't work out in Philly. They make their way around the league and carve out a little career for themselves. I wonder if that'll be Ersson. Sometimes just a change of scenery can do that to a guy, kind of reset your mind mentally, like nobody knows me in this new town kind of thing. I have a chance to make a name for myself again, where when you're in one spot and things are going wrong, it kind of feels like you have to dig yourself out of a hole. And it's easier, I think, to remake your name somewhere else. So I could see that happening for Ersson, where I don't think he's going to turn into a plus 900 save percentage guy, but I don't think that he's a 850, 860 guy. Do you know what I mean? So unfortunately, and I feel like we say this all too often in Philadelphia, he's a guy that just might need a change of scenery, right? And maybe the Flyers can find another guy like Vladar. And since we're talking goalies, like they might need to extend Vladar for another year or two. I think he signed for 2 years this year and next.
Correct.
In order to continue stabilizing the position, because I know Bjarnason's playing pretty decently and Kolosov's playing well in the AHL. He was an absolute disaster with the Flyers once again in the NHL. So surely he can't be thought of as a lock to make or even contend for the Flyers roster next year. So they're going to have to find another sort of stopgap guy and potentially look at re-upping Vladar for another year or two. At least that's what I would think about doing if I was the GM, just to stabilize the position. So yeah, I guess the short of it is I would look to move on from Ersson for the Flyers' sake and for his own sake. Go try to figure it out somewhere else, buddy. Like, you're a good dude. You deserve another shot somewhere else. It's not going to be in Philly, unfortunately. So
yeah, he strikes me as such a, like, and I don't know all the teams' prospect pools, but Seattle AHL for a while pops back up as a decent backup or something like that down the road. But like, you're right, he's got to get out of it. He needs that clean slate. That clean slate can make all the difference, and a little refining. And before you know it, he's maybe a journeyman backup who has an NHL career, But like if he stays here, I think we're going to just get more of the same. You're also not telling you can't do much right now outside of a blockbuster trade. So what ways can you tell your fan base you're serious about winning? And it's doing something with your backup goalie position, which right now, I mean, really since it was Hart and Ersson, that was probably the last time it was decent, has been a dumpster fire. Absolute dumpster fire. So we can't. What we were saying about Ersson this year, we were saying about the Fedotov-Kolosov backup tandem last year. It's like the narrative has stayed the same about the backup goalie position, but the names have changed. And and these are guys who are all in our system. Move on. Bring in somebody else like Vladar. I'm not saying everybody's going to be Vladar. You bring in. You got to try something different, and maybe put your money where your mouth is a little bit. And somebody's available. Might cost you a little bit. Why not? You got it. You ain't putting it anywhere else right now. I'm not going to sign somebody to an 8-year deal. So that's what they need to do. And that's what I think they will do.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. The last 2 years, I mean, the goalie position was one of our top worries heading into the season, and it's sort of doomed them both years. Now, the Flyers haven't played great, but we saw what good goaltending can do for a team. They can mask errors, mask roster deficiencies. And unfortunately, Vladar's a guy that hasn't played more than 30 games in a year. If you're playing, 30 games in a span of 2 months, 3 months, whatever it was, the probability of an injury starts to increase. Backup guy, can't rely on him. Sub 860 save percentage. Season goes down the tubes. They had it all right there for him this year. The team was playing decent enough. Like I just said, though, Vladar masked a lot of mistakes. But yeah, if he went down, the Flyers season was going to go down with them. And it happened just that quick. I think they lost 12 of their last 15 games heading into the break. And all of a sudden, you're 8 points out of third place in the Metro and 8 points out of the second wild card spot. And while 8 points might not sound that bad, the way the Flyers have been playing, it's a pretty big mountain to climb. And some of the cream is starting to rise. So, there's really not, at least I'm not heading into the second half of the season with much hope, Jack. Are you?
No, absolutely not. The narrative around this team is just too poor right now, just with the way they're playing. And it's like, to go with the title of the episode, the early success was great. It was fun. Great goaltending masked a lot of deficiencies with this team, but like they're not a seasoned playoff team or top of the league team, or top half of the league is what I meant. And you can see that because as the season has gone on, certain players haven't been able to keep pace. Injuries have mounted. Now the Forrester thing has really hurt them in more ways than just him being out. It's affected the power play. It's affected Cates, and not so much Brink, but definitely Noah Cates' offensive production, which team like this, who's not getting Michkov numbers from last year, and if Zegras doesn't score, you were kind of relying on that Forrester, Cates, Brink line to do something for you, and that's gone to the wayside. I think Brink's at least kept his head above water a little bit. You don't have a goal-scoring defenseman like you thought you would, so it just all adds up. And I think they're somewhere in the middle. I don't think they're as bad as they've been, but they certainly weren't as good as they were to start the season. And I think it's starting to show. And I think you're seeing the deficiencies, and backup goaltending it might not seem as important. Well, teams who don't have it, this is what it looks like and how demoralizing it can be and sink your season. I mean, it's not the only reason by a long shot, but my God, it doesn't help. And when you're trying to stop the bleeding in certain scenarios or steal a point or a win, you're just not getting it. Things can snowball. And now here we are. And we're going to have to try to finish out the season with the same roster, rested, but who else is – they're all rested now. The whole league's rested. We don't know what Michkov's going to come back, hopefully stronger. And, they're probably going to move somebody out at the deadline. They're not going to get better. They're going to either stand pat or move somebody out. So we shall see, but I don't have high hopes for it, and I just don't think the organization does either. I think we're going to shift into more of a developmental end of the season than we are pushing for the playoffs for sure.
I hope so. So, all right. That's going to kind of take us to one of our main topics here, and that's, did we overreact because of early success this year, Flyers looked pretty good for some stretches. But did we get too caught up in the moment? Which, as a fan, you're perfectly allowed to do that. You're supposed to get caught up in it. You're supposed to have fun watching your team win, whether it's in regulation, shootout, overtime. If you got outplayed and still won, you're supposed to be excited when your team wins. You're supposed to enjoy watching your favorite team play every night, right? So I'm not going to fault. It's nobody's fault, right? But did we overreact to some of the stuff that happened towards the end because the Flyers were winning? And I'm not even going to say that they were good, right? They were just somehow winning games. And a lot of them weren't very fun. They were, I think, 3 out of 4 games this year, they're getting scored on first. I forget what the amount of games it is, but like every 3 out of 4 games, they're allowing the first goal. And there's a lot of problems. There's a lot of issues with the team, but they were winning. So to me, when they started losing, it was kind of like, fun's over. Yeah. It's kind of the luck is running out now. The warts that you knew were there starting to, show their ugly head. The Vladar got injured. Whatever was going on, the Michkovs. And when they started losing, the Michkov stuff really started coming out. And that's when things started to get like not fun, right? And it's like, oh, here we go. This is the lull in the season. Should it have been expected, Jack? Like, for me, I don't want to sound like the Debbie Downer because I was having fun too. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, this could all go south quick. You know what I mean? And it kind of did, right?
So in retrospect, yeah, but in the moments, like, we're so starved to have like a winning team that you kind of just, and we get like this with players too, in the back of your mind. Like, take Owen Tippett, for instance, and I know we'll talk about him later because he got off to a hot start. It's like everybody all offseason trade him. He's like the new Hag in a third on his own. Tippett and whatever else. Trade him for whatever we need. Tippett and add whatever you need. Get that guy. Starts playing well. I don't know. Should we keep him? And it's kind of like that thing. When things are going good, you kind of lull yourself into a false sense of security. Now, with the team itself, we're so starved for any kind of good hockey, winning hockey, as Flyers Purgatory right here. It's like it sucked. We were winning 2-1 games with 12 shots. So what I'll say is, like, I understand when they win, I don't care. It wins a win, especially early in the season when you don't know where your season's going to go. If they were to do that out of the break, I'd be like, okay, well, they're still not going to do anything. But like at the beginning of the season, it's, okay, maybe we have something here. I don't know. Well, let's see how it goes. Winning's fun. But you kind of like goaltending masked a lot of the problems. We kind of put aside the fact that the power play was still an absolute joke. We put aside the fact that Couturier, and now the numbers started to fall off. It's not like he was bad all season. He's got 6 assists in his last almost 30 games or something. Maybe it's 9 assists, no goals, like playing like a third, fourth line center. Like Dvorak's your number one. Zegras has been moved to wing. Like we were at the Michkov stuff. Now that was always there, but when we were winning, it wasn't as big of a deal. When we were like in second place in the division, yeah, we'd like him to we'd like him to play more. Can you imagine how good they'd be if he was doing his thing? Why is he on the power play with Zegras? But it was in the background. Now that they're losing, it is the most important thing. Spitting chicklets guys are yelling at us, crying. Tocchet's going on air, making comments again. Can't stop talking about how he came in out of shape. Like, it's at the forefront because when things are bad, everything just bubbles to the surface and everybody's just unloading. And it's even worse when you started off winning because then you tasted it a little bit. You thought maybe this was the year. There was a chance you could finally see playoff hockey and what it's like in Philly when there's playoff hockey. When Jim, we've both been there. When that stadium has been packed. Jim, I went to a Game 7 playoff game that was at the Wells Fargo Center, but the game was played in Boston. They filled half a stadium at the Wells Fargo, and the game was played in Boston, where everybody watched on the big screen. Like, that's how crazy the city can get. So that emotion works both ways. So when things have been this, it just feels like you're kicking the tires in the mud. And here we are again, another miss of the season. And you just throw in the fact that they don't. Now you start dissecting. They don't have the assets they should have. They see what like guys like Bedard and Celebrini are doing. They don't have that guy. They're still looking for a number one center. They're still looking for a number one D, a power play quarterback, even technically a number one goalie. And we're at this stage of the rebuild. Now it feels like it's snowballing. Now everything's getting real bad, and everything looks bad. All of a sudden, all your prospects aren't good enough. Nobody looks good. Things are going horrible. Fire the coach, fire the GM, fire the whole team into the sun. And that's how quickly things can just unravel. And I try to take, you too, Jim, we try to take a step back and look at things for what they are. But everything just led to, it feels almost like a poisoned well now for how great, how great, abundant it was at the beginning of the year, how things have changed so dramatically, so differently. And unfortunately, that's just the way the city is. And were the faults there the whole time? Were the levees about to break? Yeah, probably. Because all those things that weren't improved upon and still didn't look good, they weren't going to magically get better. So what was going right for you went wrong. Here we are. And now they're sinking faster than a stone in water.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I get it as fans. Like, so here's my perspective lately, Jack, right? When you watch a team like Colorado, you're watching a team that's going to compete for a Stanley Cup. So you should be getting excited watching the Colorado Avalanche because you see the roster, you watch the way they play, and you're like, this team has a shot. If you watch the Flyers at any point this year and thought this team could make a run, I can't say what I was going to say, but you were delusional. So for me, it's hard for me to get excited, like genuine. Like I'll get excited in the moment because I'm like, I want to root for these guys, but it's hard for me to pretend like while I'm watching the Flyers, after you watch an Avalanche game or whoever example you want to use, they're far away. They're not winning a cup this year. Next year, like they're going to have to make significant moves in order for that to happen. So like, look, I've been saying it for years. The Flyers for me have become a reality TV show. They always give you something to talk about.
That's
right?
For sure.
Which is great because that's what we do. But when it comes to like growing up, you used to watch the Flyers because you wanted to watch them win. And you knew that they had a shot to win. I watch them now and I'm like, what am I watching for? I'm watching for chemistry. I'm watching for prospect growth. Is Tocchet the right coach for this team? Do they have a goalie? They still don't have a 1C. Who's going to step up into that role? Does Couturier have anything left in the tank? There's so many reasons to watch the Flyers, and watching for them to win, in my opinion, or at least for me, is not necessarily one of them. I don't know how to say. I hope I'm getting my point across. That this is just my perspective, but they're still a way off. So I guess what I'm getting at is I didn't have the same disappointment as a lot of people did when things went south. Because if you were being realistic, if you were looking at the roster, if you're looking at the goalie situation, and you knew all it was going to take was one injury for the ship to sink, and it happened, and they did. I just don't get where the disappointment really comes from. Do you know what I mean? Am I making sense?
No, yeah, I understand. I think a lot of that has to do And you see it with some of the younger fans, how outrageous they can get. We're older. We've been around the block a few times. We've seen some things. So to your Avalanche point, like for me, I wasn't looking at the team thinking they could do anything serious this year. But I thought maybe like you're looking like when were the Avalanche fans watching? I'm talking about years ago where they started to see like, we might have something here in this guy. We might have something here in this guy. He might be pretty good. Like it's not like Nathan MacKinnon was the number one overall pick. Like they were going to take. I thought they were going to take Seth Jones going into that draft, like that mostly because of a need. But there was no like he wasn't McDavid, like coming out. So like, at what point did they like hit the ground running? It's like everything just came together, and it's even if they didn't win that year, maybe they got bounced early in the playoffs or something. But it's like there was probably a year where the fans who really watched were like, man, like they tweak this and add this and maybe trade that. Like we could really have something here. I really like what I saw from our core pieces, and it felt like maybe we were seeing and I'm obviously being very optimistic here. The beginning of this season, it's like, is that what we were saying? Because they were playing good without what we saw from Michkov. So it was like, man, Vladar's our goalie, and we still need a power play quarterback, and we got to figure that out. But the defense overall is pretty solid. And Zegras, oh my God, the resurgence of Zegras. Forrester looks good when Michkov does what he did last year. This year, add that to what we're already doing. It's like it felt like that was a positive narrative being pushed forward, and maybe that was our coming out party in a sense to like, could we have something here? And then like 5 years down the road, we find ourselves as Colorado, but we didn't even make it a third of the way through before. It was kind of like, nope, we were wrong. We just got that's just the way the game is sometimes. And unfortunately, they got off to a nice start, but it was one of those things where it just wasn't meant to be. We're just so far off than we realized. We were missing such core pieces that the foundation could only hang on as long as it could. And it makes you worry more because the reasons they're losing and not being able to pull themselves out is they don't have those foundational pieces that you can build upon on and whatnot. They're still missing such important key pieces. And you don't see a whole lot from the front office in the sense of what's the word? Urgency about it. It's very, it's just year one, which is true. It's year one of Tocchet, and I'm definitely not on the fire him train, and that'll never happen anyway. But I just you were given a little bit of false hope, and you never give hope to people who don't have it. It is one of the worst things you can do, because things like now look where we are, and it's going to be like this until we can give them something to be happy about again.
Yeah, so I brought up. I was just curious when we were talking about the Avalanche MacKinnon. I didn't realize it took him 5 years to really take off.
It's funny, his rookie year is almost identical to Michkov's.
Yeah, and look at the second year. Now, it's only 64 games. But if somebody was like Nathan MacKinnon, only 38 points in his sophomore season.
Right.
And then only 21 goals. So, I mean, still 10 less games, but 11 less points in his third year. Played in 10 more games and only scored 1 more point his next year. Only 16 goals in his fourth season. This is a number 1 overall pick, a center. Now, I'm not comparing Matvei Michkov to Nathan MacKinnon. But if Matvei Michkov goes 2 more years without scoring 65, 70 points, could you imagine the chaos that's going to occur, that's going to take place in this city? Now, I used to think, and I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm speaking my mind here. I used to think Flyers fans were really they're definitely passionate, right? And sometimes being passionate can be blinding a little bit, right? Because Michkov's still 20 years old, 19 years old. He's a kid. He proved it over the summer. He doesn't have a center to play with yet. At least not one that's going to help him be point per game guy. I don't think he's a guy that can score 95 points on his own, 90 points on his own. I mean, even MacKinnon needs players to score 90-some points with. It helps when you have a Makar, a Landeskog, all these kind of guys over the years. But if Matvei Michkov doesn't score 70 points within his first 4 seasons, Jack, what do you think this town's going to be saying?
Well, they're going to walk Tocchet's head first and foremost. and probably the front office as well. Tocchet first, though, by far. And I know they won't put a whole lot of blame on the player as a whole. This will be more on management, and mismanagement is what's going to be used and whatnot. And I guarantee you they're going to bring up Cutter and how they mishandled that situation and whatnot. But it's going to be really bad, because it's going to look like what are we doing here? And a lot of that depends on what else they do with the team and who else they get in here and what have you. But if that's your golden boy, that's your savior, and that's all he's doing, it's going to be tough. It's going to be bad. He's going to have to come close, at least somewhat close to those rookie year numbers, to be something of a savior, or to save the team, like the fans, and keep them somewhat happy. But just look at this is what we're talking. This is why we can stay more even keels, because we know that some of these players go through these peaks and valleys, especially earlier in their season. But Colorado, they've been universally good for a very long time. So I guess their fan base could handle some down years and whatnot and live through that. We'll be coming up on 15 years of before we're really truly relevant. So it's going to be a lot harder to bottle up a much more passionate city, for good or for better or for worse, if that's the case. But I'm still on the you shouldn't trade him train. I mean, we'll have to play it all by ear, but this is who we are. And I think we're definitely, as you get older, you're a little more even keel to things. And maybe this Martone fella can help things out. But it'd be nice if they were both really good, because we definitely deserve that as well. But I almost don't want to live in that reality, Jim, because I'll have to delete Twitter. I'll have to just get rid of it altogether. I wouldn't be able to stomach it. I can barely stomach it now. I can't imagine that.
Well, this is kind of where I'm going with this, because it did take the Avalanche a little while to get going there. I know they made the playoffs in McKinnon's first season, but they didn't make it again until his fourth season. And I know they've made it every year since. But it took him a little while. They got the number 1 overall pick. He was scoring 50 plus points, but you get the number 1 overall pick, score 63 his first season. All of a sudden, you might expect that every year after. So I guess what I'm getting at is, I think Flyers fans, look, we're going to have to get used to one word. You know what that word is? Patience.
Oh boy. You just lit half of Twitter on fire.
And not just with Michkov. And look, it might take Michkov another 2-3 years to score 70 plus points, to score 30 plus goals. And we have to be okay with that, because sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes it just takes that 1 year. You finally get the roster to look how it's supposed to look. You have, your players more mature, 23, 24. There's a massive difference between a 24-year-old man and a 20-year-old kid. A massive difference, experience-wise, growth-wise, maturity-wise, and we're gonna have to take that ride on that train, right? That's reality. And look, I hope he comes in next season and can put up 75 plus points. But if you're watching him now, I'm not sure that's a reality yet, and we have to be patient. And that goes for a lot of the players in the Flyers system. Are they all going to pan out? Of course not. But again, that word patience, this is what we're in. Look, whether the rebuild's being done the way people want or not, it's still a rebuild. It's a revamping of the entire organization. We'll see what happens. Unfortunately, patience is the word. And I hate, look, you think I like saying that? I don't want to be patient. I would love to watch Flyers. I would love to go nuts watching the Flyers again. But it's the reality. We're in this. We're in it,
Yeah, I mean, we started this podcast over 8 years ago, and we were preaching patience then. Yep. But that doesn't change the fact that if you want this to work with where they are, or with this player, I'll say at the very least, this is a great example. McKinnon here, some guys struggle. Not everybody comes out McDavid, Matthews, and Crosby where they don't have a down year. And if they do, they still score 45 goals. A lot of teams, go through, a lot of players rather, they go through it. And this could just be a player that's not, maybe he's not maybe he's probably franchised, but he's not generational. That's the word. Not generational, but he's still a franchise guy. He might just take a little bit longer to get there, especially when you consider he's not from this country. He does not speak the language. He's at a little bit of a disadvantage. Part of that's his own problem. Part of it maybe even be Tocchet, but I don't think it's something that's unrepairable. So I'm already looking towards next season. I'm not looking towards like, oh, this guy needs to be fired and this guy needs to be moved. I'm not there yet, at least when it comes to the Michkov of it all.
Yeah. We got a comment here from Flyers Purgatory. Patience is earned with hope. Jett being moved to wing and Nesbitt under a point per game. How does Flair have a job? Add in Matvei going backwards. People lose faith. Patience runs thin. And I think a lot of that comes from Chuck Fletcher era, Ron Hextall era. If Brière was the first guy to say, okay, we need to redo the pipelines here, Flyers, we were patient as all hell during Hextall. And whether you agree that he, did the rebuild or retool, whatever he did, he was big on drafts. He was, I think, the first Flyers GM in a long time to actually try to build through draft picks. The reality is Brière's the third guy here in the totem pole. And when I believe he's trying to do it the right way, we can have a conversation about Flair, but we have to give Brière the same leash, if you will, that we would have given Hextall. It just sucks that all of a sudden we're 10, 12 years into this. The mess was so, it took this long to get this bad. Why would it be fixed in 3 years, 2 years? How does that make sense? You know what I mean? It's going to take 5, 6, 7, right? For the draft picks that were drafted 2, 3 years ago, you won't see them putting up decent NHL numbers 4 or 5 years after they're drafted. But if you keep drafting decently, start making some decent trades, over time, things should start to overlap. You should, you'll have players from past drafts now on your NHL roster, hopefully producing. That's the plan. You can start making moves. You don't need all your picks anymore, so you can start moving some for better players. That doesn't happen within 3 years, 4 years, right? And this is where that word comes in again. The patience thing. Things just have to play out, unfortunately, because it sucks to watch if all you want to do is watch the Flyers win. So, I mean, for me, that's where it comes back. I have to find reasons to watch the Flyers because it's not to watch them win. You know what I mean? I think you might be on mute.
I am sorry. My TV went crazy and
That's okay.
I had to handle that. I don't remember what the hell I was saying, but we definitely talked about Flair in the past, and I'm not going to sit here. I agree with everything you said. There still needs to be time to see what they really are. We may not like them at this time. They may not be producing at the level they're at to our enjoyments, or we think they should be producing at, although you can probably look at it and compare and say, be a little worried. Well, maybe worry is not the right word, or I guess concerned to an extent. But like for me, it just comes down to this half a rebuild. If this all doesn't work, and by it doesn't work, I don't mean yes, obviously I want them to win the cup, but like if they are in the thick of it and they're in the Eastern Conference Finals and come up short, if it was close, that doesn't necessarily mean the rebuild, how fast they didn't work. It just means they didn't get it done during crunch time. However, if they're a team that just they're just a hockey purgatory, and they're just maybe 1 year they make the playoffs, get annihilated. Like a lot of like the Jake and G era, to be honest, like where they would make the playoffs and get blown out by the Washington Capitals. They make the playoffs and they get blown out by the Penguins. Like, if that's all that this quick turnaround rebuild gives us, that's a colossal fail. And when I look back, yes, I could have my issues with Flair. Because I agree with you. If you're just drafting good over time, it'll show. What they didn't do was bottom out and get that top guy. That's what it's going to come down to. And we've had this conversation for years about teams that go through full rebuilds. And I feel the crowd that has said, oh, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. That crowd's getting smaller and smaller because you can see with these teams at the top of the draft and the players they get. Look what Schaefer's done for the freaking Islanders, for God's sake. Celebrini is already a standout for Team freaking Canada. And he may be in the Hart race this year, for Christ's sake. It's his second year in the league. I mean, like, Bedard, believe me, he's already turned it back on. He's got to stay healthy and get a little bit of help, but he's going to be a hell of a player. Already is a hell of a player. Like, these guys at the top of the draft are what you need. So when you're not drafting at the top of the draft, I don't necessarily agree with some of the moves the Flyers have made, but like, that's what it's going to come down to. I've seen people say that Torts, say we will about Torts, but the fact that he wasn't the right coach for the rebuild because he gets a lot out of players, there's some truth to that. But when I look back at why this team, if they don't get there, it's because they never bottomed out and had a chance at a top guy at a premium position. Because you can see the Sharks have lapped us. They were, when we were kicking it through the mud and whatnot, they were going for the cup, broke it all down, rebuild, and they passed us again. You're like, God, can you imagine if they got Schaefer? Because they were in position to get him. Like, they would be one of the best young teams coming up. They already are, but that would just really put them over. That's where we should be. That's what we should be doing. And, Chicago's doing some things, and other teams that have done it the way that everybody does it now. You bottom out, but because we have Comcast, we can't afford to do that. Here we are. So hopefully there's a way out of it. I'll never say there's only one way to do things. But if it doesn't work out, that's going to be the real reason why to me. And I'm hoping that some of the picks that they made at the top of the draft, which is my issue with Flair, is those are the guys that seem to be pretty good. The Martones, the Michkovs, and then what do you have after that? Barkey? Look, I love Barkey, but is he really, like, he's top? He may be a top 6 player in a pinch. It's a great guy to have on the team, but, like, is that what you're banking on? Your Barkeys, your Van Sagis, like guys like that? Because Nesbitt, maybe, I don't know. But what I see, the teams that are perennially in the Stanley Cup, we just talked about Nathan McKinnon in Colorado, number 1 overall. McDavid, number 1 overall. Barkov, 3rd overall. Tkachuk, what was he, 4th overall? Like, these are all top of the lineup guys, and they all got rings for the most part. And there's a reason for that. And your Brent Flair better be grabbing Lundqvists and Zetterbergs in the 5th and 6th round if you're going to have a chance. And yeah, I don't see that. So I don't know what magic they can pull. And when we look back on it, that'll definitely be part of the reason why.
Yeah. All right. So I'm thinking let's save evaluating Tocchet's first half for next week. We have less than 10 minutes to an hour here. Not that we have to keep it to an hour, but Flyers don't play for another week. So let's hang on to evaluating Tocchet. Is that fair?
Absolutely.
We'll talk about what kind of blends in here. So we'll save Zegras for next week as well. Do we want to do, and we'll let the chat help with this too. Do we want to talk Owen Tippett, what to do with Owen Tippett? Can Drysdale still be a power play guy? Danny Brière. We kind of talked about him already, right?
We kind of got into it a little bit. The only thing I'll say on Brière is when you're the GM, you need, like you said, a lot of leash in a draft pick perspective. I think you just need a lot of leash overall as well. Like, yeah. I can't even, and what he did this offseason, you're going to be upset with the guy. Like, come on. He brought in Vladar. He brought in Zegras. Like, why don't we like see what he does this offseason before we throw him under the bus. Like he's one of the last guys I'm looking at right now. This is a transition year. I'm looking at the team on the ice. I'm looking at the coaching staff because they're new. That's what I'm hyper focused on. I'm not looking at Brière yet. Not yet. Unless he does something real stupid at the trade deadline or he's completely inactive in the offseason. But even then, we're talking 6 months down the line. So I'm not there yet.
One thing I think people have to give credit to Brière for is he's a very good, at least pro talent evaluator. Like he's made a lot of very good AHL trades. His NHL trades have worked out. He's brought in, his free agent signings for the most part have worked out. He knows how to leverage, I think, assets. So he understands how that works. Like fully expect Noah Juleson to be moved at the deadline. I know it's not a huge name, but he understands that he can sign these veteran D for cheap and flip them at the deadline or whatever. So like he understands asset management type stuff. I like his returns and trades. And I just think he's a good evaluator of pro level talent. And, I know that he says he leaves the prospect stuff up to his scouting team, which a good GM would do. That's what you pay them for.
I think Guido here's back in the first 15 minutes of the show. You're a little behind.
Yeah, Guido, good to see you in the chat, buddy. Yeah, we'll catch up a little bit here. All right. So something I did want to bring up, Jack, because it's an interesting topic here, and that's Jett Luchanko. So played some wing during the course of the last week. Let me just bring this up real quick. Sorry. Can't do two things at once. Okay, here we go. So we're going to go back to February 8th. That's when Brantford started their 4-game win streak. They have wins over Kingston 5-2 and 3-2, and then against Erie 5-1 and Guelph Storm 4-2. Things are looking pretty good. Jett Luchanko played some wing, still took faceoffs in these games, found the back of the net twice in his last 4 games, and I believe it was 8 points he's had in his last 4 games. I think you can also see his shots here. That will be the S.
Whoa.
Yeah, so he's getting pucks to goal. 2, 8, 3, 6, 3, 6.
2 6s? What's happening?
He's shooting the puck. Yeah. Shots plus, I think, means shots. Oh, here you go. Shots on goal. Sorry. So the 8 you're seeing the shots towards the net. 4 ended up on goal. So he's getting he's shooting the puck. I think there's even a shot map somewhere in here we can get to. But there was an outlet, and a pretty significant outlet, that made it seem like because he was playing wing and putting up points, it was a bad thing. Right? And I just don't understand that thinking. Luchanko is a center for the Flyers. This team, they're not an extension of the Flyers. They can put him wherever they want. And so they put him on the wing and they unlock some offense. Why is that a negative, Jack? Can you think of any reason why that's a negative?
I think it's a little bit of piling on from certain people. Like, I haven't been too happy with Luchanko, but him starting to produce even at a different position, it's not something I'm going to jump on. I get it. It's not at center. Well, I think they're just trying to make that roster work. And if he's finding a way to be productive, I have no issues with that because he was doing nothing beforehand. I don't need him to be. If he knows how to play the center position, so if he can be productive, get some confidence back, and just play good, I'll take that. It's also at the junior level. He shouldn't even be at the junior level. So I have no issues with this. This is, if anything, is a positive to me, especially all that shooting he's doing. Because when he goes back to center, maybe he'll miss all the shooting he was doing and want to do it more.
I mean, that's all it should be, right? Like, all right, they're unlocking some offense here. Get the confidence going. That doesn't mean that because he's playing wing for Brantford, that when he comes to the Flyers, he's going to play wing. Now, I tried to understand where they're coming from, and it sounded like this guy can only score points on the wing. which is not true, right? We've seen him score points at center.
Right.
Sometimes you just need to change your line mates, play a different spot. Look, you might even become more valuable because you can play two different positions. So I didn't understand how that was a negative thing. He's still taking faceoffs, still winning the majority of his faceoffs. Here's a shot map here. So he's getting a lot of shots in between, inside the circles in the slot here. He's getting shots around goal. That's where his 2 goals came from. Clearly not afraid to go to the dirty areas. 80% of his shots, 8 out of his 10 shots in close went in the net there. So shooting the puck more, which is where everybody wanted to talk about. Jett Luchanko doesn't shoot the puck. He's afraid to shoot the puck. He's shooting the puck now. There you have his faceoffs, who wins 69% of his faceoffs in the last 10 games at center ice. It's 50% in the offensive zone, less than 50% in the defensive zone. Make of that what you will. Yada, yada. The skinny of it for me, he's fine. He's starting to produce. What's the baseball chat's going crazy over here?
Yeah, sorry. Somebody lost a player to ice. And they're like, what do we do about this? Like the commissioners will do something. I'm like, I had guys die, get cancer. I had 2 guys get arrested for gambling. You're not getting any help, because if you do, I'm gonna rage like crazy. Sorry, completely off topic, but when I saw that, I had to respond.
Which team was that?
It's the other Jack Ryan's team. It's Jung Ho Lee. Apparently got crap. Yeah, Wahoo Tribe. Wahoo Tribe. Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I had a feeling. Yeah, I was gonna wait until he finished up, but why not?
Can't wait. All right. So that's Luchanko. And I've been saying, like, give this kid time. 19 years old. There you go. Maybe he's starting to come out of his shell a little bit there. All right. We're about an hour in. What do you think? Should we save the rest here?
Yeah. No. Just real quick. The only thing I add is so there's 2 things here. So Nesbitt and Luchanko are playing better. I'm not going to get upset with that. They need to play better. At the same time, people are quoting Nesbitt's stats and he's close to point per game. Just watch a point per game in juniors is good, but it's not great. I know it sounds great, but it's not in juniors. So just grain of salt. I just want them to slowly start playing better. Let them. I think they were talking about Nesbitt potentially playing in college next year. Luchanko either with the Flyers or the Phantoms will take a step up. Then we'll see how they do. But I don't want to say it's a lost year, but for me, it's whatever. They're playing better. Good. I'm glad they had it in them. Hopefully they can keep it up.
Yeah. And it kind of goes both ways, right? Because I say a lot, don't get too down. It's prospects. They're learning, they're going through it. If they're there's even prospects out there that'll score 100 points in the OHL. And I'll sit here and don't get too excited. It's a different game in the pros. They're not going to do that in college. You know what I mean? With bigger bodies going against men. Look, they're playing against 17, 16-year-old kids in these leagues, So take both with a grain of salt. If they're overproducing, if they're underproducing, let them get in the NCAA, let them get in the AHL, and then start bitching or whatever everybody wants to do. That's my take. So, all right.
Yeah. I mean,
we're a little bit over an hour in. We're going to save. We have more topics. We're going to save them for next
shockingly,
week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything you wanted to add in at the end here, Jack, before we put a bow on this one?
USA, baby. USA. I actually agree with that with Linden. So that's one of those names I saw pop up of what he's been doing, and I kind of brushed it off, but I just keep seeing it. I just keep seeing it come around. If you want me to like Fletcher, I'm going to need guys like this to make it a real name for themselves. So, and one last thing, I believe I really like that Zegras has offered for Barkey to stay with him instead of staying in hotels. One, that looks really good from Zegras's perspective. It's I'm not going to say he deserves to see or anything, but that is a team leader style thing to do. And also, it's like Barkey's being accepted by the tribe. Like he's maybe here to stay. So it's like, I just was a feel good thing out of it when we get a lot of negativity. I really like that, really mature thing. And also Brent Flair had an interview and said that he thinks that Jack Berglund could be a candidate to make the team next year. So that'll be interesting to bookmark and watch for.
For sure. All right, boys and girls, that's going to bring us to the end of our episode 31 of season 8. Wow, season's halfway done. A couple more months, we'll be talking about the draft, prospects, yada, yada. I want to thank the chat for hanging out with us on this February evening. When's the USA game, Jack?
So I believe both games are Friday. I think it's USA and Latvia and Canada and Finland. Risto's Finland. Risto making himself a trade candidate. He was -2 in his last game, but still he's moving on, and that's all that matters. Let me just double check that for you. Yes, Finland and Canada at 10:30 in the morning, if you can catch that. And Slovakia. So what did I say? Latvia, Slovakia, and USA at 3 p.m. Sorry, Slovakia.
There you go. All right, boys and girls, thank you everyone for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, once again, please make sure to subscribe and help us on our quest for 3,000 YouTube subscribers, and give us a like. Help us achieve our episode goal of 100 likes. Leave a comment for us on YouTube. Let us know what you thought of the episode. And if you're listening as a podcast, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you consume your podcast. Set alerts so you're the first to know when we drop new shows. And for all of our latest episodes and updates, you can find on @HW Hockey YT. That's our YouTube channel. So, all right, boys and girls, we'll talk to you next week. For Jack, I'm Jim. Don't forget to keep it high, keep it wide. We'll see you next time on HW Hockey.
Bye-bye.